So back when I was a teenager, when stuttering was a real problem for me, one of the most stressful situations and the most stressful settings that I kept finding myself in and that I would avoid is drive-throughs, whether that's restaurants or Starbucks or whatever, because what would so often happen is I would pull up, they would ask me what I would like to order, and usually one of two things would happen. Either I would stutter all over my words trying to tell them what I would like to order, or I would last second switch my order to something that I didn't actually want. Now that's just one example. That's one particular setting where that was one of those stress triggers for me. For you, it might be different. For you, it might be talking on the phone. It might be talking to your boss. It might be when you're at events or parties or social gatherings. Whatever the case may be, I am here to help you overcome your stutter. So in this video, I am going to share 3 keys you need to unlock fluency in your voice. Let's get into it. Before we dive in though, what I want you to do is to write down or just make a mental note of one particular setting that you want to master. For me, that was drive-throughs. For you, it might be something else. Whatever it is, I want you to identify it and make a commitment to dominate it, to absolutely crush that particular setting. Because if you can develop these skills and you can really get hyper-focused on mastering one particular setting, that is going to bleed over to everything else. So don't worry about not stuttering in every situation that you come across. First, start with just one setting that has been a problem for you in the past. All right, let's go. All right, so the 3 keys to develop fluency. Key number 1 is you want to let your urge do the talking. And no, it's not as promiscuous as it sounds. So this idea was introduced to me by Lee Levitt in his book Stuttering Anxiety Self-Cures. So here's a real-life example of what this might look like. So let's say I'm pulling around the McDonald's drive-thru and I pull up and they ask me what I would like to order. The traditional way, the stuttering way, would be to freeze up, to block, to hold, to kind of become this weakened human being where you just kind of wait for the stutter to happen and you just wait for it to hit you. That is the wrong approach. It's the wrong strategy. What you want to do instead is you pull around, they asked you what you would like to order, and you let your urge to order the thing you want to order take over. You don't think about the words, you don't pause in this kind of, oh no, I'm going to stutter kind of way, or try and think about what you're going to say, because immediately if you stop and think about the words you're going to say, you're done, you're toast. It is a losing gamble. What you need to do is let that urge do the talking. So you pull in, they ask what you want, and you say, hi, yes, I think I'm going to go for the Big Mac, so on and so forth. So instead of me taking this defensive and cautious and fearful position where I kind of lower myself, instead you take initiative. You kind of boost your shoulders up a bit, you puff your chest out just ever so slightly, and you, when they ask you, you let your urge to get what you want to get, to speak, the idea that you want to come across, you let that do the talking, and let the words figure themselves out. Don't plan ahead. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you may have heard me give the tip to sometimes take a 3-count pause. And you might think that this is contradicting that, but it's not, because it's a very different type of thing. When I say to take a 3-count pause, that is very strategic. It's very like, okay, I feel like I'm gonna stutter, and so I'm gonna take a 3-count pause. This is, you want to say something, you're getting ready to say something, you have an idea or you have something you want to order, and you let the urge do the talking. And pausing in that scenario will often, more than not, it will spell trouble. So those aren't quite the same thing, or they're actually not at all the same thing, but I don't want you to never pause in the sense that sometimes using a 3-count pause is a great crutch to have on hand. It's just in this specific context, when you're talking about letting your urge do the talking, you don't want to pause. Soon as they ask you what you want, you let your urge speak. That doesn't mean you speak fast. It doesn't mean you stress yourself out. Because as soon as they ask you, you can be like, yeah, so I think like you can sing song, you can speak extremely slow. It doesn't matter. The key is let your urge do the talking. Don't pre-plan and premeditate the words you're going to use. Okay, key number 2 is twofold. So it is smiling and raising your pitch when you speak. So let's start with the smiling part. So not only will this help you overcome stuttering, especially if you're in a stressful situation, making sure that you're smiling, give yourself a more of a lighthearted feel, lighthearted outlook when you're talking to people, smile when you're speaking. It will really help you to defeat stuttering and overcome it. It's one of the best tools you have in your toolbox. Not only that, this is going to make you a far more attractive person in general. So this is a great excuse to build the habit, if you don't already, of smiling when you speak to people. The other one is raising your pitch. Raising your pitch is an interesting one for me especially because let me let you in on a little secret. I don't sound like this naturally. I didn't used to sound like this. I developed the way that I speak. So if you're watching this and you thought, oh, he has a kind of a cool, natural way of talking. No. See, my culture, my background, everybody talks like this. Everything is monotone. Everybody's really boring. There's no sense of intellectual raising of the pitch. Like, none of that. And that actually, I think, really exacerbated my stuttering problem because not only did I have the propensity and the inborn deficiency that led to a stutter, I was also in a culture where I was in an environment where nobody raised their pitch. Everything was monotone. Everything was flatlined. And that is a real problem. And it just makes you less interesting. Just like smiling. If you smile, you will be perceived as a more interesting person. And this goes along the same thing. Notice how I'm raising my pitch. I'm speaking sometimes up here even, right? So experiment with this. Don't go crazy with it, but make sure that you practice it alone in the comfort of your own home when you're reading books aloud or just doing stream of consciousness in the mirror. Whatever your routine is, make sure that you are practicing raising your voice and getting away from that monotone way of speaking. All right, now before we get to the third key, I want to let you know about a gift I have for you just for being here and watching this video, and it is my free Stop Stuttering workshop. What this is a step-by-step daily routine to help you overcome stuttering and help you achieve 90% fluency in as little as 6 weeks. 6 weeks isn't very long, and it might take longer for some of you, but for many of you, it is way more possible than you realize. So be sure to check out my free workshop, the Stop Stuttering Workshop. Link is in the description below. It's 100% free. All right, let's wrap this up. The third key to developing fluency is absolutely crucial, and it's something that most stutter coaches and most people who stutter don't ever think about or talk about, and it is focus on the other person, not yourself. Now, like a lot of other tips, using one like this one in isolation might not get you massive results just by focusing on that one specific trick or tip or skill. But it's the collaboration, it's the accumulation of all of these different tricks and tips. And this one in particular is so valuable because this goes far beyond stuttering, right? This is what makes you a good communicator in the first place, is if you can get out of your own head and instead focus on the person you're talking to. Let them, in your own mind, let them be the focus of the conversation. Now, this doesn't mean that you become that annoying person who asks, oh yeah, where do you live? Oh cool, what do you do? Oh yeah, how many songs do you have on your Spotify? How many kids do you have? Like, don't be that guy or that girl who just asks question after question after question without ever adding anything to the conversation, right? That's not what I'm talking about. There's a game that needs to be played here. But this is so important that you want to get out of your own head and you want to focus on the other person. And why this is important and how this relates to stuttering is, let's go back to the McDonald's drive-through metaphor or setting. So if I'm placing my order at McDonald's, this is actually a great strategy to use. Even if you can't see the other person, focus on the other person. Imagine what this person looks like. You just hear their voice, imagine what they look like, and really focus on them. Maybe even start it by asking them how their day's going. And then be like, yeah, so I think I'm going to get the Big Mac. Anything, or you could ask them, what's fresh made right now? Wait, that doesn't really make any sense. What's fresh made right now? Maybe what could be made fresh. No, this isn't going anywhere. Anyway, the point is, I've lost my train of thought. This is not. Anyway, the point is you want to focus on the other person, and this goes back again to key number 1, which is to let your urge to speak do the talking. So if you can learn and master this skill of focusing on the other person and getting out of your own head, your entire life will be richer, fuller, more fulfilling, all those great things, because you will have a richer dynamic, a richer connection, and more meaningful connections to the people that you're speaking with. You will become less self-absorbed. Plus, as a sneaky little benefit, this will almost automatically get you out of the mindset of looking ahead for words or pre-planning your words, which often leads to stuttering. This is a great distraction mechanism that you need to be practicing and using. So my friend, those are the 3 keys for unlocking fluency. Be sure to practice these, and like I've mentioned earlier, if you want to take this a step further and you really want to dial in a step-by-step daily routine, be sure to check out my free Stop Stuttering workshop. Link is in the description below. Seriously, it's 100% free. There's no reason not to take it. It is in-depth, it is a plan, it is a routine, and that is what you need if you want to overcome your stutter. So, thank you so much, my friend, for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.